I'd like to welcome Althea Erickson from Etsy. If you don't know what Etsy is, I'll give a quick overview. And Molly Turner from Airbnb. I just want to say that, so we're shifting gears a little bit here with the idea of the sharing economy, where within the sharing economy, there's a subset of marketplaces. And within those marketplaces, there's a subset that are known as peer-to-peer. So Zipcar, like for example, everyone here has heard of city bikes? Yay, city bikes, okay. Zipcar, okay, Netflix. All right, so those are models where it's not owned by a peer. A company owns the asset, and you're accessing it as and when you need it. There's a different model, which is peer-to-peer, which essentially says, I'm going to use your car or your bike. I mean, not when you don't know about it. You're going to want me to. You're not going to be chasing behind me. That's called stealing. That's a different economy. So the peer-to-peer stuff is essentially giving access to someone of my personal goods, my home, my tools, my water skis, my car, whatever it is, and putting it up on a network so that other people can take advantage of it, can use it when I'm not using it. I can set the price and all sorts of things. And there are literally thousands of these kinds of marketplaces that do parking spots, cars, spots in homes, storage spaces, tools, talent. It's really been incredible. Etsy has created a peer-to-peer marketplace that is basically inspired by crafts and people who like to make crafts. Originally, it was spun out of a group who were doing crafts on eBay, and they didn't feel that that supported them very well, so they jumped off of eBay, and a group started Etsy. And it really is this incredible, now 8 years old?
Yes, I think so.
Ish, 8-ish years old. Incredible story. I don't want to steal her thunder. And Molly Turner from Airbnb, it essentially is a platform for private homes. So the fastest growing sector, area of travel is private homes. And Airbnb is by far the largest marketplace in the world. So again, we'll let you guys take it from here.
Okay. So I'm going to go for here, I guess?
You can.
All right.
There should be a clicker if you need this.
This one moves us forward?
I think so. See if anything happens.
Okay. So thank you for that introduction, Lisa. That was a great summary of what Etsy is. What you may not know is that Etsy has over 1 million sellers on our platform. And last year in 2012, they sold over $895 million worth of goods, which is pretty exciting. I just want to, I don't know how to make this, oh, there we go. And the impact that Etsy has on, sorry, I'm trying to advance my slides here.
No?
There we go. So the impact that Etsy has on New York City is actually pretty remarkable. We have about 19,000 sellers here in New York City. For those of you who don't know, that means that there are actually more Etsy sellers in New York City than there are yellow cabs. But you can't see them because they're in their house. And almost all of them are women working from home. They're almost all organized as sole proprietors. What you see on the screen there is sort of the incredible growth in the last 8 years and evidence that many little things actually equal some great big things. And you know, that scale is exciting to us, but it's really the impact on the individual that gets us up in the morning. So Etsy really empowers individuals. And we do that by reducing barriers to entry and giving access to a global marketplace. And that allows the people who sell on Etsy really to build businesses on their own terms. So they're able to support themselves and their family through either full-time or supplemental income. It gives them the flexibility and independence to balance both work and family priorities, and also allows them to pursue really creative, meaningful work. And I think, you know, what is special about, I'm going to wrap up quickly because I know we want to get to questions, but what's special about these peer-to-peer platforms is not just the way that they empower individuals, but the way that they align the interests of the individual and the group and the opportunities that that creates. So, you know, by promoting and building their shops, Etsy sellers are adding value to the marketplace for both buyers and sellers and helping it grow over time and driving more and more growth, which is great for everybody on the platform. We also see Etsy sellers helping each other. So many sellers are organized in self-organized teams, which are organized based on geography or what they make. And those sellers are coming together to mentor each other, to market each other's goods, and are really invested in each other's success. And we find that sellers who are on teams actually do better in their shops. And then I think just third, that there are huge opportunities to come together to help cities. And I think our vision is that cities will embrace these models of peer-to-peer platforms to drive economic growth and development, not through big investments in a few large things or large companies, but instead in investing in many, many small things and driving growth that way. Thanks.
Thanks.
Let's see if I can work this clicker better than Althea.
It's not easy.
Hi, everybody. So what is Airbnb? Airbnb is much more than a marketplace for space. Airbnb is an entirely new way to think about hospitality and travel. Airbnb is also more than a company. Airbnb is a global community that is completely redefining the way that resources are used, hospitality is exchanged, residents are empowered, and access is provided to new economic opportunities. These are all values that are at the heart of great cities. Airbnb hosts are local residents who live throughout New York's diverse neighborhoods in all 5 boroughs. They're diverse in age, income, diverse in occupation. They're ordinary New Yorkers with extraordinary stories. These are people who have chosen to be true hosts and ambassadors for their neighborhoods to visitors from all over the world, from actors who are coming to work on Broadway, to families of patients who are seeking medical treatment at New York's world-renowned hospitals, to professors and students, and of course to visitors traveling from all over the world to access authentic and meaningful experiences. The vast majority of Airbnb hosts in New York, 87% of them, are renting the homes that they live in occasionally. They tell us that this supplemental income helps them weather the increasing costs of living, reinvest in their homes, pursue new careers, pay off their loans. Over half of Airbnb hosts in New York tell us that this income is actually helping them to stay in their homes today. But the economic benefits are not limited just to hosts and guests. As we all know, tourism is one of the main drivers of New York's economy, and Airbnb is helping disperse all of these economic impacts to all 5 boroughs. Airbnb travelers are not only putting money directly in the pockets of local residents, they're spending their money outside the tourist bubble at local businesses in every single neighborhood in the city. And the benefits aren't just limited to economics either. As with all of the other sharing economy platforms, Airbnb is maximizing the efficiency of an existing resource, your home. Travelers are staying in underutilized space. And by travelers staying in underutilized space, we're weaving tourism more seamlessly into the city's existing grid. And lastly, of course, there are incredible social benefits to this model. Just after Superstorm Sandy, the incredible strength and compassion and generosity of our community in New York was demonstrated when over 1,400 of our local hosts opened the extra space in their homes up to displaced New Yorkers. There are many other benefits that these peer-to-peer marketplaces can bring to cities, and Airbnb and our community are really eager to collaborate with cities like New York and other cities throughout the world to make them more hospitable and more shareable. Thanks.
So let's sort of jump right in, which is why is it that you think the cities, given all the economic value, so we're seeing 2 peer-to-peer marketplaces here that are at scale. These are marketplaces that are generating a lot of revenue. 500,000 rooms or homes listing on Airbnb is the last number I saw. You might have something more exciting. And can you give us a revenue number of last month on Etsy offhand? I haven't looked at it.
I don't have one offhand.
In any case,
but over $1 billion this year.
There's going to be $1 billion plus in revenue this year from Etsy. So again, you're seeing these marketplaces really move to scale. The point being that there's a lot of economic benefit for cities, you would think. Why is it that you think cities have been slow to recognize the economic and social positive impacts of what's happening?
So I think it's two things. I think one is that these economies really are invisible. So I mentioned that there are more Etsy sellers than yellow cabs in the city. Well, you see yellow cabs every day, but these folks are working out of their home. They don't have a corner shop. They don't have a brick and mortar store that you're going in and out of, so they're not immediately evident and obvious to
get
folks.
A little light for them.
Yeah, exactly. We could do a little, find an Etsy shop near you. So I think that's a piece of it, but I also think that, frankly, the government statistics haven't kept up with the way that the economy is growing and changing. And so we have lots of folks working in the gig economy, renting their place out on Airbnb, selling things on Etsy, TaskRabbit, and those, that data is not collected or analyzed in a way that you would see that economic impact and then would lead to more policies.
And it's not incentivized either. I mean, a small business, according to the Small Business Administration, is a business that has fewer than 500 employees. What is an Etsy seller, and what is an Airbnb host who, by the way, has a full-time job or is a freelancer and doesn't consider hosting to be a business or work, but it provides a couple $1,000s a year that maybe goes toward becoming an entrepreneur or to paying their mortgage? How do you measure that kind of income when it's going to paying the mortgage, and how do you incentivize it? It's really, cities aren't set up to incentivize and that kind of activity, and I think the first step is really learning about it and why it exists and how it can grow.
Okay, and I don't want to get egged at the end of this panel, so I have to ask this question, which is, how do we move, like specifically with Airbnb right now? I think everybody's aware that there's the city has come down because of some hotel law has come down on Airbnb and specifically, and so I'm just curious, what do you think about how we go from impasse to partnership with respect to cities like New York?
I'm happy you asked that question, Lisa. Throughout history, cities have adapted to new lifestyles of their residents. There's a great anecdote. When cars were first introduced to the streets of America, everyone was worried about the horses. And so they set the speed limit at 5 miles per hour, and they actually required that a man walk 5 feet in front of the car with a red flag. Obviously, for better or for worse, cities have adapted to cars, and now thankfully we're learning to adapt to pedestrians and bicyclists, which are also providing its own set of challenges for cities. And I am confident that the more that cities learn about companies like Airbnb and our communities, who they are and why they're doing it, they'll not only grow to embrace it, but hopefully help us to encourage it to flourish.
Great, thank you. That's a good answer. Althea, do you have anything to add? You don't really...
I mean, I think
you don't really bother anyone at the moment.
We don't bother anyone. We're very loving. But I do think that cities could do a lot to not only sort of enable platforms like Airbnb to exist, but also to really support and promote the micro-entrepreneurs who are on Etsy's platform and also on Airbnb's platform. And I think it's just an overarching point that the rules and regulations haven't kept up with a changing economy. And there are plenty of examples from home-based business regulations in New York City.
Freelancers Union.
Exactly, of ways that the city could update, both reduce barriers to micro-entrepreneurship and also adapt supportive policies and programs to help these businesses grow and flourish in the future.
Absolutely. So I think one of the main themes here also has been this blue dye idea that we have, in many cases, something that's happening that's often concealed. And so how do we make visible what's invisible to most of us most of the time? And I think that's one of the big challenges that we're dealing with within the sharing economy. And I think full confession to you, we're hoping to learn from you in the next couple of days to come up with some ideas and to think of some ways that we can actually start to unveil what's happening in a way and find new ways to partner. So we welcome any conversation and ideas. speaking for both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.